I caught my husband with my two best friends, then took everything back legally. Please stay with me as I tell my story. And please, do not forget to support our channel by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and sharing your loved ones. Your support means the world to us. Now to our story. MPO. I thought the red luggage in our hallway was mine, until I opened it and found 3 champagne-stained bras, none of them mine. My name is Elise. I had what people would call a dream life, a charming husband, a nice home in Denver, and 2 best friends I trusted like sisters. We'd been close since college, through weddings, breakups, and cross-country moves. I trusted them both with my life. And I trusted him too, James, my husband of 6 years, the man who always said, "You're all I'll ever need." But things had started to feel off. He used to keep his phone on the table. Lately, it was always in his pocket or face down. I noticed him smiling at texts, typing fast, then locking the screen when I walked by. My friends, Natalie and Chloe, had started acting strangely too. They'd glance at each other in the middle of our conversations, laugh at things I didn't understand, then quickly change the subject when I asked what was funny. Still, I shook it off. I thought I was being paranoid. People drift, I told myself. Maybe it was just stress, work, or the season. Then came the girls' trip. We'd planned it months in advance. 3 nights in Santa Fe, spa treatments, wine sunsets. But the night before, Natalie texted in the group chat that she couldn't make it. Chloe followed a minute later, saying her office needed her urgently. Disappointed but understanding, I canceled my ticket and decided to spend the weekend catching up on rest. Until I got home early that Friday. I wasn't supposed to be back until Sunday night, but I forgot my laptop and decided to grab it. That's when I saw it, the red luggage in the hallway. Same brand as mine, but this one had a charm on the handle I didn't recognize. Curious, I opened it. Inside were tangled clothes, perfume I didn't own, and 3 bras, 1 lace, 1 silk, and 1 with a champagne stain. That's when everything clicked. I called my assistant and asked for the hotel booking I had originally made for Santa Fe. I knew Natalie had a favorite hotel there, the kind of place she posted on Instagram. I called them, used her name, and confirmed the room. And I went. I didn't knock. I used the key I still had. There they were. James, Natalie, Chloe, all in bed, laughing, naked, drinking. They froze when they saw me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I smiled. A small, cold smile. And in that moment, they had no idea they'd already lost. When I first met James, it felt like something out of a movie. We locked eyes at a bookstore, reached for the same novel, and ended up talking for hours. He was kind, patient, and incredibly attentive. Every moment with him felt easy, like I had finally exhaled after holding my breath for years. We dated for a year, moved in together the next, and got married under a sky full of string lights and happy tears. Natalie and Chloe stood beside me that day, both beaming in matching dresses. Natalie held my bouquet when I choked up during my vows. Chloe made everyone laugh with her terrible toast. They were my anchors, always there. Natalie was the calm one, the quiet listener. She remembered birthdays, sent thoughtful texts, and knew how to read a room. Chloe, on the other hand, was the wild heart. She brought tequila to every dinner, always had a crazy story, and could charm any crowd. They balanced each other, and they balanced me, or so I thought. Looking back, the cracks were small, almost invisible at first. Chloe had a way of teasing me in front of James, joking about my boring taste in pajamas, or how I never took risks. He'd laugh, but I'd feel a tiny sting. Natalie would brush my hair back during sleepovers and say things like, "James is so lucky you're still fun, despite your job." Subtle things, quiet digs wrapped in compliments. And slowly, they started showing up more, always when James was around. Chloe would lean in too close on the couch. Natalie would offer to help him cook, staying in the kitchen a little too long. I told myself it was harmless. I told myself they were my best friends, but there were other things too. Times when I'd show up late and feel the conversation shift. Moments when I'd walk into a room and sense a silence that didn't belong. Still, I let it go. I didn't want to seem insecure or jealous. I loved them. I trusted them. They had been there for every major moment in my life: graduation, heartbreaks, moving day, my wedding. They weren't just friends. They were family. So when I found them in that hotel room, something inside me cracked, but it didn't break. I stood in front of the mirror that night, the soft bathroom light casting shadows across my face. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I looked myself dead in the eye and whispered, "They took something from me. I'll take everything from them." And I meant it. By Monday morning, I wasn't just a betrayed wife. I was a corporate attorney with a plan. Most people cry, scream, fall apart. I did none of those things. I brewed coffee, opened my laptop, and started building a case. Not in court, not yet, but in silence. Behind every calm smile I wore that week, I was documenting. Every text, every location ping, every charge on our shared cards that didn't add up. I had 6 years of access, and now I saw it all clearly. Colorado is a no-fault divorce state, but infidelity still matters, especially when it impacts emotional distress or asset allocation. And I knew exactly where to look. At work, I reviewed merger contracts by day. At night, I dug into marital property law, traced shell accounts, and gathered digital proof. I wasn't just trying to hurt them, I was setting a foundation. Solid, legal, inarguable. I opened new bank accounts under my maiden name. Small transfers, just enough to fly under the radar. I consulted a forensic accountant, someone I'd once helped through a tough merger, and paid in cash. She agreed to work discreetly. Next came the burner phone. One for research, one for contact, one to forward all of James's texts and emails. I even hired a private investigator to follow Natalie and Chloe. He sent photos, videos, timestamps. At one point, Chloe kissed my husband's neck while laughing at a meme I had once shown him. I didn't blink. At the office, people asked if I was okay. I told them I was focused. They believed me. I was always composed, always sharp. They had no idea I was redirecting shared funds, collecting names of key witnesses, pulling strings behind closed doors. I knew how to play the long game. James once joked that I could convince a wolf to sign a lease. Now he'd learn how deeply I meant it. Natalie and Chloe kept texting me, pretending nothing had happened. I replied once simply, "Hope you two had fun." That was enough to make them nervous, to start second-guessing each other. The cracks between them began to show in their Instagram posts, in their separate nights out. I waited. One night, I curled up on the couch with my golden retriever, Oliver, his warm head in my lap, tail thumping softly. I scratched behind his ear and whispered, "They have no idea they're already losing." And they didn't, because while they played games with bodies and feelings, I was playing chess with laws and leverage, and every move I made was leading them exactly where I wanted them. Checkmate. James always knew how to look like the perfect husband. He said the right things, brought me flowers on Thursdays just because, and told people I was brilliant. But he never really celebrated me, not in the way that mattered. When I got promoted, he smiled, but his eyes dimmed. When I won a local award for legal excellence, he posted about it, but only after tagging himself in 4 gym selfies first. He wasn't cruel. He was clever, supportive enough to seem loving, distant enough to make me question myself. Looking back, I saw the pattern. Every success of mine was followed by something to center him. He'd get injured during my big work week. He'd pick fights the night before important meetings. He made me feel like I was too much, then not enough, all in the same breath. Natalie was the first piece in his puzzle. She was the safe friend, the listener. She'd gently stroke his ego, compliment his business ideas, laugh at his weakest jokes. She called him grounded and underappreciated. It fed him quietly. Chloe was the fire. Loud, flirty, the one who pushed boundaries, wore silk dresses to brunch. She and James had chemistry, the kind I ignored because I thought I was just being paranoid. She once whispered to me at a party, "If I weren't your friend, I'd steal him." I laughed it off. I wish I hadn't. The pain of their betrayal burned sharper than I expected more from them. They had slept on my couch, held my hair when I was sick, helped me move furniture. They knew my fears and dreams. And still, so I stopped playing nice. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I started planting seeds, quiet ones. I'd drop a comment at group dinners. James has been spending a lot of time at Natalie's office lately. She must be helping him with his taxes. Smile. Sip wine. Change topic. At brunch with Chloe's mutuals, I'd joke. She always had a thing for taken men. I guess I thought I was the exception. Let the silence speak. I never said anything that wasn't true. I just said enough to make people question what they thought they knew. They started pulling away from them. Birthday invites stopped. DMs slowed. One couple even blocked Chloe after I casually mentioned a certain night in Miami, one she thought no one knew about. And then the text came. "Did you tell Amy about Cabo?" I stared at the screen, then typed back, "Oh, I told everyone." And I meant it. James always thought I never paid attention to his business. He liked to believe I stayed in my law world, while he handled real entrepreneurship. What he didn't know was that I had quietly read every contract he ever bragged about and remembered every name he carelessly mentioned over dinner. He ran a boutique tech firm, mid-size, decent revenue, but vulnerable. No strong legal counsel, just handshake deals and blind trust. So I started picking at the threads. Through a former client of mine, I arranged interest from a potential investor. A shell LLC with a believable backstory and just enough buzz to make it look real. They requested meetings, posed serious questions, asked for financials. James got excited. He thought he was scaling. What he didn't know was that I was already feeding information to the actual shareholder. Quietly, legally, I exposed misuse of funds, pointed out contract language he never noticed. I nudged one investor to check his books, another to review the timeline of Chloe's sudden consulting role. She didn't even have a LinkedIn title to match. Chloe worked for him part-time, a role he created just to keep her close, paid her under the table, used company money for their little work trips. All I had to do was leak a few emails. Suddenly, compliance was involved. She was removed without warning. No warning letter, no exit interview, just a cold email. Your services are no longer needed due to policy violations. James was scrambling. Clients started backing out. Deals got frozen. And just as he was trying to contain the fallout, I served him the divorce papers. Not basic ones. These included documented proof of infidelity, misuse of marital funds, and a detailed timeline cross-referenced with credit card statement. I added screenshots, dates, locations, everything they thought was hidden. It wasn't. Turns out some of James's contracts had morality clauses, not just with clients but with certain investors. Breaches didn't just mean canceled deals, they triggered penalties. And I didn't stop there. I contacted a tax specialist with connections to the IRS, quietly flagged inconsistencies, shared certain receipts I wasn't supposed to have. The kind that looked like business dinners, but included lingerie store purchases and luxury hotel stays. It wasn't personal. It was precise. By the end of the month, James was under audit. Chloe had gone silent. Natalie tried to call me twice. I didn't answer. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to destroy them. I just let the truth devour them. And the truth is patient. I didn't need to raise my voice. I had something far more powerful, the truth, and the right people to hear it. Our social circle wasn't massive, but it was close-knit. Monthly brunches, charity events, book clubs, birthdays, bachelorettes. The kind of group where word spreads faster than wildfire, and everyone remembers who brought what to Friendsgiving 5 years ago. I started hosting again. Nothing big, just wine nights, spa evenings, casual catch-ups. I invited the right women, the mutual friends, the ones who adored Chloe's energy and praised Natalie's loyalty. And I gave them a show. Not drama, not gossip, just glimpses. I'd hand someone my phone and scroll by accident to a text from Chloe. Tell James I'm still sore from last night, faced with tears of joy. Silence would fall. I never said a word. Just took my phone back, smiled, and refilled their glass. At another night in, someone asked how Natalie was doing. I responded calmly. She's been busy with my husband mostly. Then laughed like I'd made a joke. No one laughed back. Screenshots were passed around without effort. A dinner receipt for two in a town I'd never been to. An email forwarded with a wink emoji and a subject line that read, "Still thinking about last weekend, face blowing a kiss." I never explained. I didn't have to. People started to notice on their own. They remembered odd moments, whispered conversations, the way James always pulled out Natalie's chair, how Chloe once wore my perfume and claimed it was hers. By the third gathering, the silence around their names was deafening. Invites stopped going out. Group chats were reorganized. Chloe's usual jokes got left on read. Natalie posted a selfie and received only 2 likes, one from her cousin. They noticed. I heard through someone that Natalie cried after being left off the committee for the hospital fundraiser. Chloe ranted about fake friendships on her Instagram story. No one responded. It wasn't just the betrayal that burned them. It was the quiet disappearance, the social oxygen slowly sucked from their world. They weren't villains in a dramatic story. They were shadows now, the kind people avoided without saying why. One day, a former mutual friend ran into me at a cafe and leaned in, whispering, "Natalie said she doesn't even know what you told people." I stirred my coffee, smiled politely, and replied, "I never told them anything, because I didn't need to. They told the story themselves. I just let everyone read it." The dinner was held at a rooftop venue downtown. Glass walls, candlelit tables, a view of the city that made everything feel like a dream. It was for a new charity I had helped launch, focused on women rebuilding their lives after betrayal. The theme, reclaiming yourself. Everyone was there. Clients, friends, investors, people James wanted to impress. And of course, James himself, sitting at a front table, looking proud, like this night was his. Chloe wore red, like she always did when she wanted attention. Natalie came in late, smiled too hard, and clung to her wine glass like it might save her. They thought this was just a fundraiser. They had no idea. I took the stage after dessert. My voice was calm, my dress simple, my hair swept back in a quiet display of control. "Tonight," I began, "isn't just about second chances. It's about the power of knowing the truth and choosing what to do with it." The room grew quiet. I told a story, not with names but with metaphor, about a woman who built a life she believed was safe, who trusted deeply, who gave everything, and who discovered, in the quietest and cruelest way, that her life had been shared behind her back. Betrayal, I said, pausing to look directly at James, doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it walks in on quiet feet, wearing the perfume of someone you once called sister. No one moved. I spoke of trust as a contract, silent but sacred, about how breaking that contract costs more than money. It costs pieces of your identity. Natalie's face drained of color. Chloe looked down. James shifted in his seat, suddenly unsure. I didn't call them out by name. I didn't need to. My final words came in the form of a toast. To all of us who've learned the hard way, may we always demand full disclosures and never be afraid of clean exits. I lifted my glass. The room stood. Applause rose like a wave. I smiled and stepped back, heart steady. James stayed seated, his hands still. His skin was pale, his jaw tight. He finally understood. This wasn't a breakdown. This was a presentation. A message. And every guest who mattered had just watched me rise above him, with style, with truth, and with absolute control. I walked off the stage, letting the applause fade behind me. The revenge had never been about shouting. It had always been about being heard. They thought it was going to be easy. James smirked when he saw me in court. Chloe and Natalie sat behind him, whispering and laughing like this was some messy breakup drama they'd already won. They believed I would cry, maybe beg, or fall apart under pressure. I didn't. I walked in wearing black, heels sharp, steps steady. 3 attorneys followed. One was a bulldog in litigation. The second specialized in asset protection. The third? A quiet woman with a memory like a machine. And then came the real weapon, my forensic accountant. The moment the trial began, everything changed. James had filed for an equal split. Claimed we shared everything, the house, cars, accounts, business investments. But I had prepared for this long before he even knew what was coming. One by one, the facts unfolded. The house, in my name, purchased with funds from an inheritance that had never been commingled. The luxury car he drove, registered to my firm's trust as a business lead. Every major account, created under my maiden name, long before our marriage, protected by prenuptial clauses he had forgotten existed. My forensic accountant displayed charts. Dates. Transfers. Proof that Chloe received payments labeled consulting, though she never delivered a single invoice. Natalie's name showed up in hotel transactions paid for by the company card, under James's signature. The courtroom, once buzzing with quiet amusement, turned still. My attorneys spoke clearly, never raising their voices. They let the paperwork tell the story. No emotion, just evidence. The judge listened, nodded slowly, then flipped through the final stack of files. When he spoke, his words were crisp. This case is not about a failed marriage. It is about premeditated betrayal, financial misconduct, and calculated deceit. I didn't look at James. I didn't need to. The ruling was swift. I retained full ownership of our home, my firm, and every cent I had earned or protected. He left with nothing but his name and the mess he created. No one applauded when I left. There were no gasps, no shouting, only silence. And that was enough. Outside the courthouse, I paused at the bottom of the steps. The sun hit my face, and I took a deep breath. No press, no drama. Just air, clean and clear. James stumbled out minutes later, alone. Chloe and Natalie were gone. I didn't speak. I didn't even glance his way. Because the best revenge doesn't echo. It erases. Some things you lose slowly. Others vanish all at once. In 1 year, I lost a husband, 2 best friends, a home filled with shared memories, and a version of myself that believed loyalty guaranteed safety. But what I gained was everything. My new apartment isn't big, but it's mine. The furniture is light, the walls are warm, and every corner reflects who I am now, not who I was trying to be. No secrets linger here. No cold shoulders. Just peace. I have new friends, too. Not the kind who pretend to cheer for you while taking notes for your downfall. These women are sharp, kind, and real. We meet for walks, for deep talks, for laughter that doesn't carry hidden meaning. They saw me rebuild from nothing and never once asked me to shrink. One evening, on a quiet whim, I decided to write it all down. I posted the story anonymously on a forum for women recovering from betrayal. I didn't name names or add drama. I just shared the truth, the way it unfolded, the quiet moments, the planning, the courtroom, the aftermath. No rage, just clarity. Within days, it exploded. Thousands of comments. Hundreds of messages from women saying, "This gave me courage," or, "Now I know I'm not crazy. I didn't expect it. I didn't chase it, but I embraced it." Now every week, I speak to others in private threads, anonymous chats, and support groups. I help them see the trap before it closes. I remind them they're not powerless, even when the world feels stacked against them. I teach them how to breathe through it, plan through it, rise from it. The other day, James texted me, the first time in months. "You really ruined my life." I looked at the message for a full minute, then typed back, "No, you did. I just notarized it." I blocked the number after that. No anger, just closure. Now, I sit on my balcony most evenings with a glass of wine, watching the sun dip behind the building. I don't think about what I lost. I don't ache for the life that used to be mine. Because I know now, I never had a partner. I had a distraction. I never had real friends. I had shadows. What I have today is real, solid, earned, and more than anything else, I have myself, and I am finally completely free. 1 year later, my story lived far beyond whispers and courtroom files. It had a title, a cover, and a place on the bestseller list. The Legal Widow was part memoir, part guide, and all truth. It told my journey, not just the betrayal, but the blueprint of how I took back my life. Readers called it bold, sharp, unflinching. I called it closure. The success was never about fame. I used a pen name. No book tours. No interviews. Just the words. And those words reached women everywhere. Women stuck, scared, silence. They sent letters, emails, handwritten notes. Some said they cried after the first chapter. Others said they read it twice before filing for divorce. Then came the nonprofit. I named it Silent Exit. It provides legal resources, financial planning, and safe housing for women leaving toxic, controlling relationships. What started as a passion project turned into a movement. We hired counselors, lawyers, volunteers. We grew fast. Too fast. Because the need was greater than I had imagined. In the background, life caught up to the ones who had burned me. James, bankrupt. His firm folded 6 months after our court date. He moved back to his mother's house in Arizona, according to a former investor. A whisper on a forum claimed he tried starting a podcast about rebuilding after betrayal. It never aired. Chloe disappeared from our city. Someone said she works at a yoga studio in another state. Natalie tried starting her own consulting business. It never took off. She applied for a leadership program I helped fund. Her application was denied, not by me, but by someone I had mentored. Poetic, but I don't think about them often. They're just footnotes now. Because the legacy I built came from pain, yes, but it now lives in purpose. In women who walk into our offices trembling and leave with new names on deeds and bank accounts no one can touch. One Friday morning, I walked into a downtown boardroom for a strategy meeting with our nonprofit partners. As I entered, the room stood. Smiles, respect, power, all directed toward me. Not as someone's wife, not as the woman someone betrayed, but as the boss. I took my seat at the head of the table, notes in hand, eyes steady. And in that moment, I knew the truth. Revenge was never about rage. It was always about reclaiming control. And I did, with interest.